Ministry's hard. We were 5 years before I ever received a dollar from the church. I was working full-time, 2 jobs. 7 years before we had our own facility. 8 years before anybody else was on staff with me. Year 4, we broke 100. The day after the next day, 38 people walked away from the church. We started with 8 people inside of a modular home, averaged 1,900 last Sunday. We've been through every season of ministry that you can quantifiably think of, and now we're standing in this moment, looking back, saying, ministry's hard, man.
Yeah, ministry's hard. So many different walking the journey from beginning to now, seeing the different aspects. Man, there's been so many moments of this was hard, this was hard, this was hard, and then you just know that with every hard part of ministry, it has shown and had results that all made. It's kind of like the birth of a baby. They always say, after the birth of the baby, all the pain is, you forgot about. And God has been so faithful that in the hard parts, it's just like, wow, well, this is what happened. So
many people will never experience what we experienced this week. Most, the statistics say only about, 1% of churches will ever grow to where, this amount of people. So most people will never experience what we've experienced this week. But this week, I mean, Caleb and I and Johnny were here at 6 a.m. on Monday morning. We're doing a book study. I'm going live on the book study at 6 a.m. I already woke up early to do all my devotion stuff that people in the church are waiting for me on. We do a 6 a.m. podcast. Yesterday you and I are having heated debates about banking issues in Illinois that you think you're going to have to drive to Charleston to go figure out some stuff all the way in Illinois. Add on top of that things like staff meetings and just internal conversations. On top of that, we're flying away. We're going to Iowa, where I'm preaching 2 nights there, Thursday night and Friday night at their prayer conference. And then we're doing a Saturday morning tools conference where you'll be speaking at that. I'll be speaking at that as well. And then you come back Sunday and I'm speaking on Sunday. And so there's preparing for 3 sermons. Tonight I'm speaking to the Conway High School baseball team, giving them a little motivational hoorah type speech. And so all of these things that just, it's a busy life that we live around here.
Not to mention last week where you had to prepare
messages
for a marriage conference.
Marriage cruise that everybody's like, oh, did you have fun? You're like, no, I worked the whole time. You worked the whole time. It is a lot of work. I think people don't understand how hard it is to prepare a well-presented, even 30-minute sermon or whatever.
People have no idea. There was a stat years ago that I read that 30 minutes of public speaking has the same amount of stress on the body, maybe not physically, but stress on the body, as 8 hours of manual labor.
So Kimberly has been around here for 20 years. Y'all been married 19, 18?
19 years.
19 years. You've been around here a long time. We have begged you to take certain roles. You've been a high level. We always call you a high level volunteer because you've always turned down all of the roles that we've begged you to take. So day 1, Monday, you came on to a new role here at the church, and day 1, what's your thoughts?
Ministry's hard. I'll to another extreme and at level, like ministry's always been hard. Like our family is very, our life revolves around the church. That's what we do. But it's a whole nother level. Whenever I first started, my mom asked me, well, what are you going to do all day? And now if I could just get somebody to follow me around all day.
You had no clue, did you?
No clue.
Your husband works here.
Yeah.
You've been a volunteer here for 19 years.
Yeah.
And you had no clue what happened behind closed doors.
No clue. Now, you see bits and pieces
Sure.
of what happens behind closed doors, but it's not only it's not only the staff, it's the volunteers. It's not only the volunteers, but it's just the visitors walking in the door. So you're trying to keep up with all of these people in so many different areas and making sure that they're loved and they're taken care of. On top of, I have my own small group, two nights a week. On top of my children having all of their activities going on here at the church and elsewhere. So it is a busy, busy life. Ministry is
It's like
hard.
herding cats.
You said you
Yes.
got home last night.
Yes.
What'd she say?
Oh yeah, we got home last night, and she was like, "I'm so tired. I just want to go to bed. Is it okay if I just go to bed?"
And then
And-
I said, "Oh my gosh, I got to get up
I
and
gotta
do that,
do that
all
again
over
tomorrow.
we got out in the car, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, this is gonna be the rest of my life.
Yeah.
This is what I'm gonna be doing the rest of my life." And it's where she was at. She was a sole proprietor of her own business, where she was on her feet all day long, baking. I mean, so it's not like, oh my goodness, I was laying by the pool and now this is hard. It's just the mental aspect of what we
Yes.
do. People just, I don't think they understand. But with all the things you just named out, like, it makes me think, oh my goodness, there's so much to do. Like you said, we're flying out tomorrow to go speak at these things, and there's so much. But in that same breath, I think I have the greatest job in the world.
How amazing is this?
know.
Yeah.
So
Such an honor.
oh my Lord, I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
I was on a Zoom call with a bunch of pastors this morning, and they sent me a text and they said, "Hey, can you please come on the Zoom call and answer some questions for us?" So I jumped on a Zoom call. I was on it for about an hour, talking with some of the young guys, and I just thought, man, how blessed am I
Mm-hmm.
that this group of, I don't know, 20 guys are reaching out and saying, "Hey, can you come on here and give us some wisdom?" And now I'm the old gray-haired
Yeah.
guy that's coming on to give wisdom to these young bucks. But yeah, I would not trade it for anything in the world. This is amazing what we get to do every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, I said this morning after our prayer time as a staff, you're up here. People don't see what all you do. People don't see what Caleb does. The flip side is Caleb has no clue what I do.
Yeah.
Carson is like 3 offices over. She's in a little quad, and she does her schoolwork in there and all this sort of stuff. And she, about a week ago, said to me, "You're the busiest man I've ever seen in my life, Dad." And I'm like, yeah, you have no clue what everybody else is doing, even inside of the office,
Yeah.
let alone somebody who was a high-level volunteer outside looking in, have absolutely no clue how busy it is around here.
Yeah, that's Angie. When she came on to work with me, that was the first week she was here. She's like, "Oh my goodness, I don't understand how we're gonna get all this stuff done."
We're not.
Yeah, we're not.
We're not.
Just write it on the list, and we'll get to the next thing on the list.
So a lot of people out here that are going to be watching this, and they've heard bits and pieces of our story. We remember what it's like to go through seasons where we've moved multiple times.
Yes.
From campus ministry to moving from the modular home that we were originally in, moving over to another facility for 9 months, then moving from that facility to 3690 to here. We've moved multiple times. We've moved campuses. We moved out to Conway. We moved Conway moved campuses, moved from one facility to the next. Richie Williams has done a lot of blessing of our lives and helping us tear down walls and put up walls and all that thing. I remember he came into 3690, and in 3690 we took what was maybe a kids facility, a big open room that we had like a gymnasium, and we turned it into office areas because we had expanded the church. We had to knock down all the walls and take all the office areas. So we expanded and turned this gym area into offices. And so we built walls, and we didn't know what we were doing because the guy who was helping us build just left the church right in the middle of the project.
Yeah.
And so we built all these walls, and then we couldn't figure out how to span the gap from one side of the room to the other in the ceiling. And so we had a lot of ideas. We had a lot of ideas come through our minds, and we're trying to figure it out. And so what we did was we used 2x4s,
Yep.
span the gap, and then we put bolts in the 2x4s, and then took ratchet straps from the top of the 2x4s to the rafters in the ceiling,
Absolutely.
ratchet strapped it tight,
Oh, yeah.
so that if the 2x4s failed,
Yep.
at least we had ratchet straps in the ceiling.
Listen, I'm laughing because I remember all of these days, and what a blessing Richie was whenever he walked
Richie
into
walked
our
in and he
house.
said, you have ratchet straps holding up the ceiling.
But what else did he say? He said, I mean, it'll work.
It'll work.
He said, but there's a whole lot cheaper way to do it.
He'll call me sometimes and he'll say, like, hey, what's your plan here? And I'm like, what? He said, no ratchet straps. We're not gonna do ratchet straps. I said, yes, sir, I understand.
Yeah,
But it is. I think guys think, outside looking in, I think they look at us and they go, you just hire everybody to do everything. You got enough money, just go hire everybody to do everything, and they have no clue the hard labor that you and I have put into.
We didn't hire anybody to do
everything.
anything. Like early on, there was no money to hire anybody. So if something needed to be done, it was just like, all right, cool. How do we build this? I don't know. Let's get something and start.
Early on, when we came to this building,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the carpet in our foyer that
Yes.
everybody raves about.
Yep.
We put it down
Yes.
on a Monday night after prayer and stayed all night long.
Late nights.
Oh, turn this way, and we
Oh, how about the chairs?
the chairs.
Taking out
Our
all
knuckles
the
are busted and
staples out of
hurting.
the chairs.
And Lee Guerrera, who is again just a high level volunteer,
Angel.
he is a godsend. He literally took those chairs and he had people helping him. Tom, Craig Kramer helped. Craig's small group. There was a lot of people that helped during that process, but it just took a lot of volunteer, heavy lifting,
Yeah.
oomph
I
to
mean,
get that taken care of.
Yeah.
There's so coming into this building and the size of it, the scope of it and everything. There's so many things that Lee alone, and that everybody who helped, saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars because we had a quote on getting them recovered. But I just remember moving to this building, the stress level was so high, the timetable was we had to get this thing done by this date, and it was such a large undertaking. But do you remember when we took out the bathroom
Oh
stalls?
my
Oh,
God.
What a
And-
mess.
And we didn't number them. And it was just like a jigsaw puzzle getting them to fit back.
If you look at a bathroom stall,
Yeah.
if you just walked into the restaurant tonight for dinner,
Yeah.
and you just looked at the stall, you'd think, I can put this
Yeah.
back together.
No problem.
No problem. If you go into one that has 12 toilets on both sides, I don't know how many, it's a bunch on both sides, and you just think, listen, it's a bunch of big
Yeah,
squares.
no problem.
Just take them apart, just put them. It's no
Except
big deal.
for this square is 3 inches shorter than this square, and you don't realize it.
As you're taking them apart, you have no clue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a mess.
That was a mess. I just remember, I know me and Sam were in.
We got to the end, and there were two stalls that we couldn't fit the doors on, so we just left the doors off.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
didn't even have doors on. We have
There were
since
prison toilets.
we have since updated and upgraded those. A professional came in and actually
Yes.
did it. But there was a bathroom in the boys. There were two stalls in the boys' bathroom because we stole them off the boys so that the girls could at least have covering.
Yeah.
There were two stalls in the boys' bathroom that didn't even have doors on them because
Nope.
they wouldn't fit. We had the doors.
We couldn't get
They
them.
just weren't the right size, so we had to
Yeah.
rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, it was.
A mess.
And then we ran out of brackets. How do they
yeah.
just disappeared? The
And
screws
listen,
wouldn't fit.
My
everything.
question to everybody listening right now: where would you go to buy brackets for a bathroom stall?
Not there.
We didn't know either.
Not
Lowe's.
there.
No,
No.
Lowe's does
They
not
got
carry
it.
them.
Nobody
Depot
got
does not
it.
carry them. We had to order them from daggone Taiwan or something. I don't know.
Nobody's got
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Richie found some for us somewhere.
again.
One of his buddies.
Thank you, Richie.
Thank you, Richie.
Yeah, that was.
That might be the title of this podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Richie.
Yeah, man. Okay, so going back to 3690, I remember the scariest reconstruction that we did for me was when we took the lobby and expanded it out.
Yeah.
And the reason it scared me was because we don't have any kind of construction knowledge other than just doing it. And so
You're an expert now.
we're an expert now. Yeah, yeah. So we're taking our lobby, and there's 2 offices on the side, and we're knocking out these walls.
Yeah.
The problem is there's a roof over it that has an attic on top
For
of it.
sure.
And so we're sitting there thinking, okay, once we knock these walls out, are these
Is this
load
roof coming
bearing?
down? Is this roof coming down?
Is it falling down? And I remember when we finally knocked out that last
Me too.
one, and I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm just looking, I'm just waiting for it to fall. Because I mean, you had an attic over top of this thing. What was holding it up? I mean, Jesus. You know, I mean, we coming out from another part. There's this I-beam that came out, and it's just like we hoped, but it was really just a hope, and we had no clue. And then I remember, like 6 months later, when there was a crack coming down from the ceiling in the drywall, and I was like, not a good sign.
It's not good.
Not a good sign. But that was scary.
We are planning going into Easter a work day here at the church.
Yeah.
And you know, I made the joke about this work day that we're doing nothing that we need to hire a professional to do. Because historically our work days have been painting, you know, fixing, you know, upgrading. That's what our work days have been. And then you go into a work day where you're like, no more. We can't have paint on the hinges anymore. We need a professional to come in and paint these.
I remember the summer that we bought a bus,
Yeah.
and I
You
painted the bus.
Yep.
Literally painted the whole bus.
This
me
is
and
the
my
bus that
father-in-law.
Johnny used his wasabi card on.
Yes.
Did you know? Y'all
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever told you
I
all
don't
about
know if you've
wasabi
ever
card.
told the wasabi card.
So we were at my birthday lunch one day eating sushi. And I said to him, there was wasabi on the plate. And I said to him, I will give you a free get out of jail free card. You can do whatever stupid. Johnny was always doing stupid stuff and making me mad. You can do whatever stupid thing you want to and just say wasabi. And I have to forgive you and forget about it if you eat that glob of wasabi right there. So he just picked it up and ate it. It was funny. We laughed. We had a good time. We got back to the church after the lunch that day. We got back to the church. He walked into my office and he said, hey, I need to use my, he said, hey, you know that van that I'm supposed to be cranking and driving every single week?
It was an old diesel.
It was an old diesel. So a diesel engine, you have to crank, you have to drive, you have to keep it going. You know that van that I'm supposed to be cranking and driving every single week that's on my checklist? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I haven't cranked it in months and it won't crank and I haven't driven it anywhere and it won't even turn over or do anything right now. And I was like, what? You're a kid. And he's like, wasabi card. And I was like, okay, well, let's call a mechanic.
Listen, he didn't even wait a whole day.
Oh, no,
before
he turned it in
And
immediately.
I remember thinking, man, he's gonna wait on this and have
No,
something
he
big.
turned it in
It's
immediately.
like he was waiting on that opportunity.
Crazy.
You know, I mean, I remember that day, and thinking back, I'm thinking, did Johnny actually suggest that? Because maybe he was.
But yeah, we bought an old bus
Yeah.
that we found on Craigslist,
Yep, North Carolina.
North Carolina. I called in honest to goodness, I called in a favor from a friend that had said to us, hey, if you ever need anything, if anything ever comes up, let me know. And I called in a favor and I said, we need something to be able to get our kids to events and things of that nature. You were doing the summer camp.
Yep.
We need something to take our kids to these parks and things of that nature. And so so he donated the money for us to purchase the bus. We purchased it. We painted it. You and Mr. Randy painted it, spray paint. I remember seeing pictures of y'all with the plastic all over the place, spray painting the bus. And it worked well for 3 or 4 years.
We had Simeon and Devin and me out there sanding it, prepping it for paint.
Yeah.
I spent 2 days that summer sanding that thing.
You sure
Yeah.
did.
And I remember looking at Devin and I'd be like, all right, because you know we're just scuffing it. You know, we're scuffing it so the paint will stick. And I remember telling Devin, I was like, no, when you hit metal, when it starts shining, you're
Too much.
too much. But yeah, it was
Good
crazy.
times.
I don't think people understand I don't know the right way to say it, the sweat equity
Sweat equity.
that
100%.
we have put into every facility that we've done. From the again, it's so much fairer to call it a double wide trailer. I know it is a modular home, but it is what the normal typical person would consider a double wide trailer. So much we put so much sweat equity into that building to make it as nice as we could.
Mhm.
Then we went to the other facility and even prepping to get it ready. I mean, some of our church members were the ones laying the tile and helping to frame up all the metal studs, and you and I out there doing all of the techie stuff with Bruce Bailey and soldering things and doing everything we can to get that facility to the best quality possible. 3690. Everything we did out there was, just constant sweat equity. I remember cutting up the walls of my office
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
and into like 4-foot slats and carrying them
Yeah.
Mhm.
over to the new office area because we were so broke we couldn't buy new walls.
Yeah, we were trying to conserve everything and repurpose. So if you don't get what he's saying, like in the sanctuary, there was a walls with drop ceiling, and there was just freestanding walls once you take the drop ceiling out, and we took a sawzall and just went down the
remember
wall
that.
in 4-foot sections. And okay, here's a 4-foot section, and just took them over and walked them across the parking lot to the office building that we were building, and put them back together. The problem was, again, we didn't number them, and so we get over there, and it's a different size, and
Yeah.
so we're it's Legoing them together, and yeah, man, there are things that we've done that people look at and be like, that is so stupid, but we were trying our best to be good stewards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we could save, $1,000, because, man, there was no, let's call it professional. It was
That conference room in that it had really high ceilings.
yeah. Every other ceiling in the place was like 8-foot ceilings, except for this
It was
one
like
conference
10
room that was
ceilings.
10-foot ceilings because we brought it from the other building. Like that room was 10 foot, and yeah, and it was noise proofed because of the amount of sheetrock that was on it from over there. Come over here, we had to put new sheetrock over
sheetrock.
top of that
Yeah.
sheetrock, and then we had some guys come in that actually knew what they were doing. I think it was Richie's guys, and they're like, "Okay, you guys are horrible at mudding
Mudding.
through the years." That when you said we're not painting and we're not doing this and that at workday, I thought to myself, this is what I thought about when we were at Conway. We're doing the Conway campus.
Oh.
We had everybody pitching in that was a part of that, and nobody there knew how to mud. Nobody knew how to mud well, and the amount of mud they would put on the wall. Then you have to sand off. There was a day I walked in and we had mudded the walls, it dried and sanded, and I remember sweeping it up and it was of course clouding up, but I remember sweeping up so much that I could have put it in a
Into
bucket
the 5-gallon
and
bucket.
put water in it and reused it.
Do you remember the lady that was, I won't call
Yes,
her name,
I know
but she
exactly.
took a red Solo cup and her finger, and she was trying her best to
Fill nail
at-
holes. Yeah.
and she was telling us how great she was at mudding and patching holes.
Yes.
I know
And I
exactly
say
what you're
all
talking
of this stuff in hopes of twofold: encouraging people
100%.
who are in that place. We've been there.
Yeah.
And then maybe our people, where we get spoiled, maybe being reminded of where we came from.
Oh, I'm so thankful about all the things that we've went through, because all of those seasons that we went through, each step has, I mean, just like with your kids, I mean, they teach you so much, and how thankful we are for where we are right now, that we get the honor and the privilege to fly out tomorrow and go to another church. And what a great,
We
oh my
couldn't
goodness.
help those churches over there had we not been through what we went through.
Right.
1,000%.
Yeah.
We went through so many time periods where the answer was, you just do it.
Mhm.
Where the question is, how do you do this?
And you and I get frustrated even now with people because that's our mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just do it.
Oh,
and we'll
yeah.
be around here and people will hit the first little plastic bag and they'll go, "Oh, I can't do it anymore." And me and you were
I don't know
like,
how to do
"What
this."
are you doing?
Yeah.
Figure it out. Let's go. We
Yes.
do this. This is what we do."
Plow through. And we've seen that so many times. And it's just a different mentality that I wish more people had of, okay, here's the roadblock. I don't know what to do. Find a way through it.
Figure it out.
And if you can't go on YouTube and it tell you, then make something up.
We didn't have YouTube 10 years ago.
Yeah. If you can't figure out how to hang the ceiling, attach some ratchet
Attach
straps.
some ratchet straps.
We spent more money than it would have costed if we did it right,
Right.
but it got done, and that was the only way we knew to do it.
Absolutely.
So So yeah, I wish more people had the tenacity to just plow through. If there's I mean, we're doing things right now that we don't know
How
how
many
to do.
skills have you learned through the last 20 years because of
All of them.
ministry?
No,
Electricity. Are you better at electricity now than you were
definitely
20
better.
years ago?
I had a bit of a background.
Your dad was
Yeah, he was an electrician for a
electrician.
while, so I had that, and I'd always call him like, "All right, Dad, we got 240-volt plug," and he would always help me. I mean, now I can do anything electrical.
I am much better plumber than I was. I'm a much better designer than I was. I'm a much better when I think of things like, oh, there's a spill and what do we do? How do we clean it up instead of just going and getting something? Hey, let's research that because we've mashed way too many stains in to figure out, so all of these little things that you pick up through the years and you just get better and better at. And eventually, I remember Dan trying to hang a TV and there were just these holes in the wall the whole way to, it was in the back there, remember? And there was just these holes in the wall
perforations
as
all the way down.
somebody was looking for it. And then we walk in and we're like, oh no, these are the ones that, I don't remember what it was. Oh, these are metal studs. So that thing isn't, hitting here. So
yeah,
little things like that.
Somebody asked me yesterday, I was telling them how to do something like, Pastor Tony, how do you know how to do all this stuff? And I was just like, I have failed
so many times.
They just have to be done. And so you just do them and fail enough times that now I know. I finally figured it out. You just press through. Failure is a great teacher.
Yeah, one of our biggest, I'll say failures. Failure is a great teacher. We launched a Conway campus.
Yeah, we did.
And we blame COVID. Thank God for COVID in this season. Because it almost killed you. Conway campus almost killed you. It definitely sucked life out of you.
Yeah.
And it almost destroyed the vision of the future of this church and what we're doing now because of what happened at the Conway campus.
Yeah.
Nothing bad, terrible, immoral, unrighteous. Just ministry's hard, man.
Yeah, we learned, with what we're doing now. I've told Pastor Joseph so many times, hey man, listen, you're welcome. You know how to do that now because we didn't know how to do it before and failed. And everything from
we bought a huge projector. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
2 of them.
Yeah,
one of them never even worked.
Never worked right.
It
would display and it was super bright, but it was yellow.
The other one and it was hard to hear because it was so loud and the ceilings were so low.
Yeah,
that we thought we
listen.
Man.
I remember when we hung that same one at 3690. One of the most precarious / interesting / fun things that we've done is I had Scott's, like, the thing was 80 pounds, and when you're carrying something 80 pounds on a ladder, on one side of a ladder, and then Scott's got another ladder right here. And
is this not the time whenever you put the table down and then put the ladder on top of
that
the
is
table?
not this time,
but
that was a lot of other times.
Okay.
A lot of other
just
times.
wondering.
And it had a handle on it, but it was so heavy, and we had built this frame structure up above the ceiling tiles, and it was just so heavy, and just me and Scott, and you guys know Scott is not the biggest fella in the world, but he's a beast. And we crawl this thing up there, and when we set this 80-pound projector on this structure that we built, I mean, we didn't know if it was going to hold. We didn't know. I was just like, it's going to end up on the ground. Anyway, but yeah, we took that same projector and hung it up over there, and it was literally, when it was at 3690, it was super loud, but it was in the ceiling. Nobody knew. But in our first Conway campus, it was so low.
Are you talking about the Kleenex box?
Yeah, it was. Listen, it was the size of this podcast room. It feels like. It was so small.
It wasn't. It was bigger than that.
Bigger than this.
A little bit
by
bigger.
2.
A little bit bigger.
It was so small, but the ceilings were like 8-foot ceilings, and so when you put an 80-pound projector that's meant for a theater, these were Christie projectors that were meant for theaters, and is right by somebody's head going, the whole service.
It was tough.
I tell you, one of the toughest things that I remember in ministry overall is moving into the new Conway campus, because our goal was to get there by Easter, and Easter was like 3 weeks away. And this was an old garage, and man, I'm telling you, it was awesome to see the buy-in of everybody there, because they were, Robert Rogers, we learned so much. We learned that dry fall ceiling paint sounds great because it's called dry fall, because by the time it hits the ground, it's dry and you can sweep it up. But what they don't tell you is that it covers everything,
yeah.
and it's just like it's just a mess. But man, being there 1 o'clock in the morning, so many nights, 3 weeks to renovate.
Warren was awesome during that
man,
season. That dude never slept.
Never slept.
Robert never slept. Jason Pinky never slept. Those guys just.
Yeah, Jason Pinky got there one night right as we're about to leave, and he's like, "All right, guys, what can I do?" And I'm like, "We're leaving." He's like, "Oh, I know y'all are leaving. I'm pulling an all-nighter."
Right. What can I do?
And
Yeah.
what can I do overnight? And I was like, "Okay, well, you do this. And he was there till 7 o'clock in the morning. But, it taught us a lot from a structural standpoint with campuses, but it also, man, just the people that were there, the buy-in, and it just shows that with the right buy-in, people can accomplish so much.
Yeah, now we go back to, let's say, Clemson campus, and we take a group of 15 of us up there, and we work for a couple days, and it reminds us. That was a messy, nasty day, yanking out toilets and changing things that haven't been touched in 20 years. It was gross.
Yeah.
But we're in that season being reminded of where we came from. This is who we are. You're never too big to sweep a toilet. You're never too big to clean a toilet, whatever it is, whatever the old saying is. And, so we clean toilets. We do these things even now because this is who we are. This is not, we don't just say, oh, it's just, and sometimes you and I get frustrated with everybody, even staff, going, just hire somebody to do that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no. Can we do it?
Yeah.
If we can do it, let's do it.
Our experiences, man, they've been so beneficial in launching campuses, because, man, going up to Clemson, jumping on that stuff that, it was a building built in 1948 and had crazy wiring. We cracked open the ceiling and these wires that are covered with cloth and everything. They're a little scary, but no big deal to those of us who have been through it. And now a large part of the staff has been through it with campuses, and so when we go, it's no big deal because it's just what we do. And so now we're expanding that into the newer staff members that, they go and they may get exhausted, they may complain a little bit, but now they're experienced. Next campus, they're like, okay, cool, let's do it.
Remember when Kimberly first started running kids ministry, and we had side classrooms, but they didn't have roofs on them?
Yes.
So you could just hear whatever they were.
Yeah, it was like it was just like
All
little
the-
vehicles.
you walk in and it's loud all the way
across.
Tony's talking about, Conway, we say it failed. We learned a lot of stuff from it, but we have somebody that goes through our Aynor campus now that she said, I'm so thankful that y'all did that because it changed my life.
Joy tells me all the time. She actually talks a little bit. She used to, I don't know now that she's in Aynor, she used to talk in leadership development, just to come into the class and share her testimony. But she always says, you say if only for one, and I know you think Conway failed, but I was the one that he came there if only for me. And so, yeah, Conway was great because it taught us a lot.
Yeah. So we don't want, as right now as we are, we don't want to, like all of us, we don't want to walk in things. We don't want to fail. But how much can we learn from failing and things like that?
We had a campus on the beach.
It was the best campus ever.
Sure
Our
did.
favorite.
That was my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh.
If today,
It worked well during the summer.
Yes.
during the summer, it worked
Yes.
great.
Even
People would
into
just-
the fall.
People would just come up off the beach
Yeah.
and be
Yeah.
a part of it, and then all of a sudden,
Pastor
Yep.
Joseph came to you tomorrow and we need one more campus. Let's do one on the beach.
I tell you, I think it's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating. Kimberly loved it.
Yep.
You sit there, you see God's creation. Man,
Yes.
it was really cool.
Mm.
I think that is one of the ones that I have the most love-hate relationship on, was the beach service, because after we got done, we came to regular service, and at the the Myrtle Beach campus that we had, and I'm sitting there, sand all over me, and it was just weird, strange, unique, so unique. But there again, we wanted to launch campuses. We didn't know how to launch campuses.
Right.
Ooh,
So we
how
just do
about
it.
the multiple services? At one point, how many services we run?
4.
4 like one Saturday night and then 3 Sunday morning.
On
Is that-
Easter, we did what, 6? One Easter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we moved here, we were doing 3 Sunday morning and Sunday night.
Yes.
So we've done one Saturday, 3 Sunday mornings, but we've also done 3 Sunday mornings and Sunday night. And all of that was miserable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because listen,
It was
I'll tell
Ministry's hard.
I'll tell the guys watching, for me, who I get to preach ever so often, and when you get up there and when you start preaching multiple services, you get used to it, but the drain that it takes, and for you to get up there week in and week out and do 4 services a day, I mean, I was always surprised, and this not a bad thing, not a good thing, but there are a lot of pastors who take Monday off instead of Friday. We take Friday off, but a lot of ministers that take Monday off just to recoup. And during that time, I was like, dude, why are you not taking Monday off? Because you needed to recoup. Because, man, that many services week in and week out. I mean, I don't know that you had any gray hair before that.
Ministry's hard.
Yeah.
Ministry's hard.
And not in a bad way.
Mm-mm.
It's amazing.
Anything worth doing is hard.
Marriage is hard.
Yeah.
Raising kids is hard.
Yeah.
Getting out of debt is hard.
Yeah.
Getting healthy is hard. All of those things are hard. Ministry's hard.
Yeah.
But man, it is so worth it.
Yep.
Greatest job.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord, for calling us.
Amen.
Thank you.
So blessed.
Anyways, thank you. Thank you for all you've done. Appreciate you. And hopefully this is an encouragement to everybody that keep going. Plow
You
through.
can do it.
You can do it. Press forward. Love y'all. Peace.